Oh, hey, I just cut some wires out of the dash. I'm trying to get my new 110 outlet wired up here. We're putting AC in this thing. See, I got a box fan bolted up to the window. Using our 110 here, it's gonna be perfect. Keep us nice and cool. All right, now Reese is gonna go ahead and test out our new box fan AC. So pretend you're driving along down the road and we're gonna fire it up and see how it works. How's that? Feel pretty good?
It's okay. It's not the best though.
Needs to be stronger?
I think so, yeah.
All right. Okay, now in instances where the box fan 2000 is just not strong enough, you need to upgrade your game. We're gonna use the Air Mover 5000. Now this guy's pretty simple. You just drill some holes in your fender here, you bolt this up, and it blows right in while you're driving. Works great. Let's give it a test. That worked pretty good?
It's a little abrupt, but I lost my hat too.
Oh, okay. We need something better. Let's see what we got.
Let's see what we got.
Okay, we have a better solution, much better than our homemade methods. A whole complete AC system by Classic Auto Air. And what's nice about this system is it's designed from the ground up as a R134A system. So it's a lot more efficient than when you take a stock Fox or old R22 system and just retrofit it to 134A. The AC condenser, for example, was designed with 134 in mind. It's supposed to be a lot more efficient, get better cooling. The evaporator, I thought this was pretty interesting. They put threaded ends on here. Anyone who's taken one off of a Fox with the spring lock connectors by the firewall and struggled and fought that for hours can appreciate how nice that is. Just a couple wrenches, super easy. Of course, the downside is we're gonna have to pull the whole dash out to get this in there. It's not a simple job, so that's a downside, but should still be good. Compressor, it's pretty nice. It's quite a lot smaller than the stock one. A lot more efficient. Presumably uses less power off the engine, being smaller and nicer. It's an 8 rib, which I thought was interesting, but that's normal. You just run the 6 rib belt on there. It's somewhat of a generic, newer, more modern compressor they use on a lot of their kits. And of course, all our hoses are pre-made and crimped to size, ready to go, which is pretty nice. They have almost all threaded ends with O-rings. And then since our car was converted to no AC, and the power steering was moved up for better, layout and belt setting, we're gonna have to move the power steering back down, which means we're gonna return some of the old brackets. So we bought one of these brackets. It was actually like this, but the new AC compressor doesn't use the whole bracket. So we were able to remove that section to clean it up, paint it, smooth it out, and the way that you'll see when we put it together, the new compressor fits in there just right. So, yep, first order of business. I guess let's tear that dash out and get the evaporator going. All right, we're busy tearing apart the dash. Excuse the wind noise, but we have our little AC going in the building here. It's really hot out, so we had to move this in here. Center console is out, cluster is out, and lots of miscellaneous parts. Working our way to pulling this dash out, so we'll keep at it and get it out. Dash is most of the way out. Unbelievable. What a job to get to the evaporator. Goodness. Getting there. Still got to get this box out. Whew, well, there she is. Got the whole AC box out. What a deal. Can't believe they designed it like that. So we have a heater core here. Fairly simple. You got 4 bolts on top. This cover comes off and you can replace it, which we're going to do because we know it leaks. We can smell it when you use the heat in the car. The evaporator, oddly enough, Ford did not create any way to access it inside of there. I'm kind of surprised. It's all sealed plastic. It's like they assembled it around. So I've looked around online and seen what other people have done, and some people split the box down here. And a variety of ways. A more common method that looks easier is to go on these seams right here and basically cut a top patch panel, pull back this stuff, open up a patch panel, and then pull this evaporator out and get a new one in. I think that's the route we're gonna go. All right, I got this flap heated, cut out, and bent back with a heat gun. So we should be able to hopefully get the evaporator. Oh, look at that, it's coming out. Oh, it's got a lot of crud in there. We need to clean this out. All right, I'm definitely glad we went the extra step to change out the evaporator. This old one is so caked up and clogged A lot of the fins are all jammed and bent. Not much airflow would have gone through here, just from years of collecting dirt and nastiness. And who knows what's inside of it. These two ends have been open into the engine bay for years and years, collecting dirt internally that you can't even see. You know, looking at the two right away, I noticed I have 11 rows of fins here, or cores, I guess. This side has 13, so it's definitely a denser package. Hopefully performs a lot better. New evaporator's in. I bent the flap back down, added a couple self-tapper screws to secure it in place. Now I'm going to take some silicone gasket maker and just fill all these seams to seal it up, and it'll be airtight again. Well, our dash is all the way back in. Not a whole lot to show for it, except we have new evaporator lines coming out the firewall. That's about all you can see there. I don't know, man. After watching you guys pull that dash out and put it back, I say we just go back to the Air Mover 5000. No, I think we're gonna stick with this for right now and keep going with the AC. Speaking of the dash, it's all back in, everything's all together, it looks really nice. We do have a few wires hanging out here and down the bottom there. That's because we're installing a digital dash screen that goes with a Megasquirt computer, and we're updating the fan controller computer to accommodate AC. Those will be in a future video, so look out for that. That'll be pretty interesting. So today we have a couple things on the agenda. One is we need to get some mounts made up here for the AC condenser. When we put this tubular bar in as part of our supercharger install, which you can see, that's part of the way through here. We got the blower install going. We did not have AC in mind, so we didn't create any purchase here for the condenser. So we had to hit up LMR, since we threw all that hardware away, unfortunately, and buy some new ones. These bottom ones, we'll have to slice off this bottom bracket and create something custom to stand them off of the bar over here. And then the top ones we should be able to just coat and paint and get installed. The other thing we need to address is this belt setup. This power steering needs to move down below here, kind of in the factory location, and we'll get the compressor up top. That means the bracket on the back of the head there has to change, as well as this bracket here. We got some of that hardware. New bracket that goes on the back of the cylinder head. Something else we got to address is this catch can. It's going to sit right in the way of where the accumulator is going to go. So we're going to relocate that inside the fender well, and that'll open up the space here. All right, so I'm about to start fabbing up the AC mounts, and Reese is going to start redoing the pulley setup on here. Okay, here you can see the radiator mount we've re-tacked in. You can see how far back we've moved it. I'm about to shave this and fix this bracket, but that gives you an idea how much more we're tucking the radiator in. And we're doing that because originally we mounted it further out here, so we're trying to create clearance for our blower setup. But now that AC's come into the mix, we really need to tuck it back in and just deal with tight clearances here, clearance our shroud for this pulley and stuff to make that work, so we can get our AC condenser in here and then get the intercooler for the blower in there. So not a normal step for AC by any means, but in our case, yes. Well, the AC mounts are coming out real nice. I was getting ready to build some sort of extension perch to come up here, but the factory style mounts that are meant for the factory style crash bar, I started cutting it up a little, and I found that it fits right on the bar perfectly. Pressed up on the bar there, it gives us the correct distance and height that we need. So here's the other one. As you can see, I started cutting the ends off and just cleaning it up. And of course, when we get the rubber mount on there, this is going to work out great. This old catch can bracket needs to go. Need a new design. Okay, catch can's all done. No longer here. We got that space freed up for the AC and the wheel well here. Let's take a look. So there it comes in from the engine, and then instead of a breather on here, since this is the daily driver, I absolutely hate that smell in the car. So we got a hose off the top that runs down, curls, and goes into a venturi tube into the exhaust, creates a vacuum effect, sucks the smells away. So pretty nice. Now when we put the liner in, you won't see anything. Be all tucked away and hidden. AC is installed back in the stock location, now down lower, because it was sitting up higher over here. We got a new bracketry installed that's been modified. AC bracket hardware coming in, looking good. This hose we flipped around. It was, since this set up higher, it was pointing straight down. Now it points back up like how it normally does from the factory. We are missing whatever mounting section was here, so we'll have to refab something to mount this out of the way on our own here. But otherwise coming along good, so next on to the AC. Woo, all right, we got the AC compressor in, all mounted up in here. There are quite a few brackets, so It's a little bit of a challenge. You've got this one here that bolts to the cylinder head, then you got this black bracket here that bolts on top of that. Then you have an intermediate bracket that adapts from that bracket up to the compressor, and the compressor has little 3/8 spacings that go in there. And the instructions leave a lot up to the imagination, so this took us a little while to figure out. So it was a little bit cumbersome, but we got it now. On this side, it actually goes right through the bracket. The bracket actually acts as a spacer on this hole number 4. So you actually only install a spacer on 3 of the 4, because the 4th one is the bracket. And the wiring, you know, you obviously got to figure that out on your own. It's just got a piece like this. It doesn't match the Fox wiring at all. So we're going to cut this end off, and we'll cut this off and just make our own little harness. No big deal there. But otherwise, it's pretty nice. It definitely looks like a good unit. I think it'll be a lot easier to take in and out when we have to service it, because you don't have to remove all these intermediate brackets and refigure all that out. You can just remove the main compressor housing ones, or however you want to do it, and just take it out as a unit. Be a lot easier, you know, going forward. Yes, always a surprise little rain to make us run inside, keeps us on our toes. We got all the welding done for everything. It's looking really good. Radiator, our new AC condenser mounts are in here. We added little tabs at the bottom for the bumper that were kind of missing so that it could get attached. We also went ahead and added a tab for our power steering line holder. The cooler, I mean, it goes up to here and down, so that's going to work out. Don't mind these extra ones. This is for an intercooler, because we're also doing a supercharger install, but that's a different video. But overall, this is coming out nice on our AC. We even created a mounting point right here. You got this line secured. Compressor, of course. We did the wiring. It's just upside out of the way for right now because we're working on other stuff. But yeah, overall, this is coming together great. All right, we've been doing a lot of mock-up and testing here, getting things ready. So now we've got all our hoses here. We've got our accumulator. There's the orifice tube. We're gonna try and put all these hoses together, get that condenser in there, and start putting all this together. Condenser dropping in. See how we added this foam on here, seal it up against the radiator. Okay, so in this section here, we're gonna join. This is what runs from the condenser back to the evaporator at the firewall. We gotta put our orifice tube in here. Gotta go ahead and get that guy installed. We'll lube up the O-rings with the provided lube. Put that in, put it together. Now, since this runs right by the engine headers along the way, we actually went ahead and picked up some of this heat shield protection cover, and we're gonna wrap this up after we put this together to try and keep that cool. Okay, we can't get our orifice tube to fit inside of the pipe here. It's binding up. I removed the top O-ring here in case it was just the O-ring jamming, and that doesn't fix it. It's actually the body of the unit is holding up on there. We're gonna have to go ahead and try and clean that out with a drill or something, open up that hole so that we can actually get this orifice tube to go in there. Okay, so this ended up wasting a whole afternoon. Turns out this hole had to be machined open quite a lot just for the body of this unit to even fit in there. I'm not sure what happened, if we just got shipped a dud or what the deal is, but the rest of this kit is really nice, so I was surprised that we ran into this, but we got it sorted out now. This thing fits in, the O-rings are nice and tight, so back in action. Okay, so here's an issue we're running into with this lower AC hose. It runs from the AC condenser to the firewall evaporator. Look at how much excessively long it is. It's overlapping here and can't quite get back here, but look how long it goes. It goes all the way down, jammed into the K-member and into the headers and curling up. It's probably about 5-6 inches too long. There's no way that's gonna work. So we're gonna have to probably try and get this re-crimped at an AC shop or something to make this work. All right, there we have it. Nice and short, and it all fits in there properly, and we got a 45 on here, so it comes in nicely. What we had to do was we had to replace this hose. We went down to an AC shop that makes automotive custom hoses, so we got rid of the straight end on there, and let me show you the difference over here on the length. It's a good 5 inches. So we had that hose made 5 inches shorter. I don't know why that hose was so long. Now the 45 we just added because we got the blower here, so that helps out. And we also had to replace this hose that goes from up here to the pump. Let me show you what we did there. So that replacement hose is 1 inch longer, and right here on the pressure side we put a 45. And we actually flipped it around. So normally this hose sits like that in the pump with a 45 and a straight end in here into the condenser. The problem is the blower's in the way. So that's not really, you know, Classic Auto Air's problem. That's our problem. We put a blower on. But it's very, very common for people to throw a Vortec on here. So I'm going to show you what we did in case you have the same situation with the blower. We got a new hose. We made it up. This one has a 45 on both sides, and it's 1 inch longer hose. And we're actually going to flip this pressure connection from here to the other side. And the reason for that is that pressure connector points out directly into the pulley, and you would never be able to actually service and work on the vehicle. But if you have it on that end, you can get to it, and then on this side, the 45 curls around and clears the blower. And you can snake it, you know, around the hoses here and with clearance with your distributor, so you can remove it at any time. You can snake it under the intake for the blower and so forth. That extra inch really helps, and of course the double 45s. So that's what we've had to do so far. So I think we're finally ready to throw hoses in and get to pulling a vacuum on here. After chasing a few leaks, we finally pulling a vacuum on the system. So that's pretty exciting. I feel like we're making some progress here. You can see this hose here, we got some heat shield on it. It runs close to the engine, keep that hose nice and cool. So we're gonna let this run for about an hour, I guess. It's really humid out, pull all the moisture out, and then we'll start charging the system. All right, charge the coolant in there. There it goes. Charge it right into a vacuum. No air pockets, no hiccups, no issues. Man, reading 120 right now. Let's charge this up and see what we can get that down to. Speaking of charging your AC system, that brings us to the sponsor of today's video. We'd like to thank Black Ice AC Refrigerants for sponsoring today's video. Cut! No. Apparently I was holding the can wrong. Let's try that again. I'd like to thank today's sponsor of AC Refrigerants, Black Ice. Is this poisonous? Completely safe, perfectly fine. Are you sure? Carry on. Black Ice is completely safe, guys. I'm going to show you. I'm going to put the valve on here. Thing's getting cold. Look how frosted that is. And the can. Wow. Woo, cold air. Yes. This is about 65 degrees flowing out of there. Wait, am I reading that right? Yeah, about 65. Which is not super cold, but it's a good start. Actually, that feels really cold. That feels great. All right, that's exciting and weird to feel cold air in the Fox. Damn. Look how cold all this got. This was frosted initially. Oh, condensation. Oh, wet. Nice. All right, it's all done. We got the whole AC system together. All the hoses, everything's in there. It's working. We really don't have a whole lot left to do except let's go test this system. And I am sopping wet. So let's go dry out on this AC, see how well it works. Well, AC works great. Look at me, I'm all dried off and cool and refreshed. This is wonderful. It's actually really exciting. You know, you don't expect ice cold air in a Fox. At least we haven't. We've been having Foxes for years and never had AC. So this is kind of cool, really nice. No pun intended, kind of cool. It's really, really cold. Just how cold? Really cold. Really, really cold. I'm freezing. Turn the fan down. I can't feel my fingers. Yeah, it's that cold. The downside, though, we're finding is that the engine is getting really hot. So with the intercooler sandwiched in front of the AC condenser, now we have some airflow issues, and the cooling fan setup is not the best. So next time we're going to get this car out, we're going to do some work. Because right now we can only run the AC for about 10 minutes. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having AC. Car gets up to about 220 real quick and climbing. We got to shut off the AC dry and let the temps slowly come down, and it does take a while for them to come down. We're going to address blockages around the radiator for air escaping by that should be forcing through it. We're going to put a better fan setup and shroud